Okay, so I came across this podcast. It's called Next Level Souls. So it's Next Level Souls podcast, and I played a video the other day when I was doing I was just playing some research vids on this video, and then listening in on this one. And I'm gonna do the same thing again. And I think because I don't see any risk of having any copyright shit going on if I do this, and I don't see any strikes from what they're talking about. They're not talking about politics. They're not talking about science. They're not talking about medical. They're not talking about transgender. They're not talking about Lion Mama Kona 19 stuff. I don't hear anybody mentioning any of that so far. I'm really actually amazed, and I'm a little taken back. I don't want to say too much yet, but so anyways, these are near-death experience people that have been through near-death experience. But I heard the first lady, and I guess I'm gonna have to get to know these people over the next couple of weeks. These people that are doing these interviews, and the guy who does the podcast, because it's only I was turned on to him just yesterday. Before I left, I had some shit to do, and before I took off, I came across this video, and I mentioned it on my way out the door, saying that I want to go back and play that lady's video, and I did. And after listening to it again a second time, she said even more things that I wasn't able to get all in that 47-minute video, so I'm gonna have to go back to hers. What gets me about this is that these people that are having near-death experiences, they're describing the system that I'm able to see all around me. And so is everyone else, because I can trick everyone into seeing it, and then they deny it and turn away from it, and they have excuses of why they seen it. So I think it's really incredible, really. I mean, these people are not fucking around. They're real. From listening to what they're saying so far, I mean, I've listened to about 6 videos, 6 different people's thing. Aside from the guy, and I got to learn myself to relax a little and just let people say what they want to say and not get all pissed off like I usually do. Even if I think that they're wrong, who gives a fuck? I'll deal with it later. I'll remaster those videos at another time. I just got to stop turning the video off and just play the research vids through on this side and listen to what they have to say on this side. I'm not going to claim that I agree with everything that they're saying, because there's a lot of things I disagree with, but one of the main things that seems so crazy to me is that, okay, so they went to the other side. They're obviously seeing the true creator's work. Everything they're describing in the true creator's work as all one, everything being one. You listen to the descriptions, especially the last lady, her descriptions of it all. It's amazing. I mean, she can see the builders, and she's describing the builders as filling up this ball, filling up a ball, and which that's kind of the system. That's what I was telling you. I mean, when you look at the model, this is the model right here, and that turns into a ball. It's a movable, workable model, so it is going to turn into looking like the ball, and inside that ball are all these, you can't put an amount on it, some things I don't like she uses the word infinite, and an infinite amount of, and she calls them triangular, I'll play her video, like a triangular glass. She described it to like a disco ball, because you had all these different triangulars of, and she doesn't realize that they're carbons. They're the carbons that are all around us. They're the true creator's builders. Another thing that I've heard several people mention so far also that relates right to the true creator's system, that we can all see. It's all around us. We can all see it. We don't need to die to go see it. That's the thing that's getting me, is that the only people, because this is the first time I've come across somebody who's describing it all, was that lady. And she's describing leaving and going to the system, which I was describing to everybody as just doing that. Others talked about it as in meditation. This is a good idea. I put a mirror back here so I can put myself on video too. So I'll be on video. I mean, I'm in in a dirty t-shirt and just hanging around the house. So not right now, but I just saw my reflection in the glass, and I'm thinking to myself, because I thought about that before, if I put a mirror here, that would make it much easier on me. Then I can have several screens going and still have myself on camera. As a matter of fact, maybe just leave the glass like this, so this way I don't have to comb my hair and brush my teeth and all that shit and put a clean shirt on. Anyways, back to this. So many things that they're saying make me believe them that they did this. But the thing is I need to get through to this dude that makes this podcast. I don't want to get too excited. I want to hear them out a little bit. Let's play 10 or 15 of their videos over the next, because I still got 2 weeks before I'm I can't get any strikes on either channel. I still got until the 15th or the 16th. And then I only have these last 2 channels left, and I'm not making any more fucking channels. So hopefully this is it. Maybe this is what I've been looking for the whole time. The only thing is, I don't want to draw myself and label myself as a near-death experience person, because those people are also down another conspiracy road that no one else is going to pay attention to. It's only those group of whatever there is. I don't even know. Maybe it's funny too, because I was saying there has to be at least a couple thousand people on this fucking earth who know what I'm saying and are with me, but they're too afraid to come out and they're too afraid to talk about it, or they don't know how to get it out to anybody. Well, this might be it. This might be it. That's why I'm kind of excited about it. I'm afraid to be excited because they're so on the ball. So everybody, and they're just average people telling their story. So I'm gonna fill in a lot of detail, and I'm gonna contradict some of the things they're saying. So don't think that I agree with everything that they're saying, but I can tell you this much: we can prove everything that they're saying right now in this fucking realm. We don't need to go anywhere else, okay? And most of these people so far, I don't hear any trash mouth like me. They're all good people. They were all good people before they had their near-death experiences, and they were even better people afterward. But they're just going to have to deal with listening to some swearing and everything like that, because for what I'm going to show them, I'm going to show them right here in this fucking realm, right here, that they can see everything that they talk about going and dying to see. They can see it right here. It's all around us. I'll show it to them in the clouds, the moon, the trees, with our own eyes. Don't need any technology. Don't need any shit. So, yeah, they can reconfirm and no longer have to listen to others, the other 7.8 billion zombie slaves, telling them that their near-death experience was just all wrapped up to, some of them do bring in gods and Jesuses and stuff like that. You got to understand some of that shit, you know what I mean? I got to understand too. So I try to tread lightly when it comes to that kind of stuff. But most of them that did believe in those things before, in those, religions, in other words, the lies, because anything out of a human's mouth, as we all know now, is a fucking lie. But they didn't go to that after their near-death experience. They described exactly what I'm describing to you. Another thing that they're missing that I'll be able to help them with is the difference between the true creator and then the false creator divided himself from the true creator's energy and built the biosystem. So that's something else I'll be able to show them that they can see for themselves. And it all relates to everything that they seen when they went over to the other side. The other thing is to go over to the other side, you don't need to die. I do it all the time now. What they're talking about getting used to, what they're calling powers and things like that, they're not powers. We all have them. We all have disability. It's the human lie. It's the human lie that we all live by, which is everything. And that's the other hard part. They're calling things the universe. They're talking about this model. They believe in this fucking bullshit story, right? So that's going to be a really hard one to get out of everybody's mind when they know they're going to have to go to this. Forget it. Same thing with the clock, right? Numbers, math, all going to fucking go away, right? This is going to be the new clock now. That's going to be the new clock. And the new clock, the funny thing about it is, this new clock's over 10,000 years old. We were using this over 10,000 years ago, right? So here I am, just a nobody, a fucking moron, and I'm putting this shit together. I didn't have no near-death experience. I know this is right. This is correct. As a matter of fact, at least all of this is correct. This might even change, because these go on the second hand. Well, that's 1. That's a 1, so that's fine. No zeros in a 1. The 10 is now gone. And there's still something else about it. 60 seconds to make up a minute. That cannot be. We have to change the numbers. Even if it comes out to still 60 seconds, we're not going to have the 0 and 60 anymore, so it would be impossible to be 60 seconds. So it would have to be not even 61 seconds, because you have to take out the zeros all the way up to that 60 seconds. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So you're going to subtract 6 zeros. Yeah, that's right. I'm bad at math. I count on my fingers. So 6 fucking zeros got to come out before we get to that 60. So we're not going to really be at 60 anymore, right? It's pretty easy to do. Any mathematician, accountant should be able to handle doing shit like this. Then what about I'm sorry, that was the hour hand. So then the minute hand. The minute hand's going to be 6 zeros, then the hour hand. Yeah, so they're all going to have to change because all the zeros are going to go away. So these hands, what they represent for each click that they do, how many gears are in the back of this fucking clock to make that all do it, it's not going to be a big deal to fix it all. It really isn't. But we got to get our minds around the idea, because we're all still think we're living on this fucking thing, which is totally ridiculous. All the science and the religion that's wrapped up in this fucking lie right here, what a huge fucking lie, man. So how the hell do you get 7.8 billion fucking zombies, including the ones that are waking up, including the ones that had their near-death experience? They've been there, they see it, and they don't even realize that they can see it all the time. They can see it right here, even in this bio realm. We can see the true creators' work. We can see the false creators / creators' work. We can tell the difference between them. It's all there for us. The real model. There's so much. I don't know why the hell I was zooming in. Oh, because I was sitting over there. So I should have been doing the clock like this so you could see it. There are already so many lies and bullshit stories set up that whenever I represent this model and I bring it out and I actually start going through it all with you and showing you, how it works and everything like that, and what we call wandering stars, what they're doing, the sun and the moon, and what they're doing and representing as a large mechanical. That's the way I look at it, because I have a mechanical mind, but it's easier for me to explain it in that way. Because I'm going to hear some of these people explain it electrically, and I also explain it electrically. That's why I call it an electromagnetic nanocarbon system, and it's not me calling that. That's what it is. That's what it is. All the evidence that when I was building this model, which is just a, shit, nothing, but I have to get shit in my head, right? I gotta figure it out and see it. So this is what I've done. So what happens is all the lies of all this is where 7.8 billion's heads are all stuck. There are about, let's say, maybe about, they got to be down in numbers, maybe about 15 to 20,000, because there were a couple 100,000 a few years ago, but maybe about another 10 or 20,000 that believe it's a flat earth, which is ridiculous. Unfortunately, both of these are ridiculous nonsense, right? So even when I built this model, I'm drawing it up as something flat like this. So because I had to, because I'm putting light down through. This is a photograph of the moon on clear plastic. And my other moons right here also are on clear plastic. Moon. Okay, so moon. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm representing all the stationary stars, that the energy comes down through the moon and works as a electromagnetic nanocarbon regulator when assigning biospecies, the souls to the biospecies, to all of us, because our energies are all in here already anyway. I can't speak for down here because I cannot actually get down there, but I need down here to be there, because that's how everything stays in balance. That's how the entire system stays in balance, because everything that I'm seeing up here has to be down here. So that's the only thing that I'm guessing about, but it's I don't even call it a guess anymore, because what happens is that once you know how to use the system the way that these people are learning how to use the system, then you can go anywhere you want at any time. You're going to realize that time is all one, and then the way that I did it when I started, this is the way I did it, and these people will understand what I'm going to say right now. What I did was, when I went into the True Creator system to move around, travel, communicate, It took me a while to get used to it. I'm still not used to it. I'm not no fucking pro. But anyways, I wanted to come down and look around over the other side, and I wanted to see what was on the other side, knowing that the other side is our side, because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. The reason why it doesn't matter as far as up, down, left, right, backward, forward, in and out do not matter in the true creator's work, in the actual system. Okay, but then when the false creator / creator comes into play, when he did his bio build, then he divided everything. So everything was divided, right? So here we had the, again, all in here was already the true creator's work. All the carbons were already here. The builders were already here. They're the true creator's builders. But when the false creator / creator did his bio build, then he needed to make everything around his bio build safe for the bio build. Feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast. Right? And there's his system. So because he divided everything. Okay, I'm going to keep fucking doing that until you get it. Okay, so when he did that, all these other things will come into play. The explanation for the moon. The reason why the moon is able to work as a clock. A lot of these people that we're going to listen to, they talk about the time not existing. And that's true in the true creator's work. True creator's work, time is all one. So you can go forward in time, backward in time. You can do whatever you want in time when you're in the true creator's system. When you want to leave your bio shell, I guess you could say it. But the thing is, I got to stress to you while we're doing these videos is that you don't have to die to do that. We can see it all around us. And then as far as when you sit back, you can leave in like a millisecond. And I totally understand when I'm listening to these people talk about, they'll say things like, you don't, when you come out of it, let's say they have their near-death experience, and their near-death experience lasts anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes or something, that they said that they were dead or whatever. Well, now when they were in there, they were having days, weeks, and months of, journey. Right? When they're in this state, they're afraid to even say that. I could read between the lines. Some of them are saying it was a really long time. I can't say for sure, but she wanted to say like months and years, but it seems so not logical. It just doesn't seem logical. How the hell do you go from somewhere for 5 minutes dead, and then when you're gone, you're living years and years of experience, right? And all this shit. And then they learn that they can bounce around in time and all that. Well, I want to let them know over the next few videos. I'll let them all talk first, and then I'll come back in and I'll talk about everything that they say. But I just want to, if you go back in my videos, a lot of the shit that they're saying, I've already been trying to show everybody that we can see it all. So, okay, so we can only see this end of it, and this end of it you can't. Don't worry about it, right? But we can definitely see that the zeros were a lie. So if we take out all the zeros out of all the fucking math, we can still keep our math. And it's much better. It's easy. It's nice. It's beautiful. Everybody will feel better because we're not lying to ourselves and each other anymore about it all. And then we can get all this nonsense and that flat earth nonsense out of our minds because it's all lies, right? Because we can see it all. I can look out the fucking window. I can look right here in the window, but I can look out the window and bring you around the clouds. That's everything that I'm doing on these videos, is I'm showing you. We can see the fucking system for ourselves, but nobody will look. They won't look. They'll just see the clouds as clouds. They're not looking at what I'm telling them that they can see. I have to force it on people. And it's pretty much everybody. It's everybody. It's just nobody. And, well, hopefully, we'll see. Because now, I'm going to make a fucking series to this dude here. I don't even know his name yet. But Next Soul Podcast. I believe it's Next Soul. Next Level Soul. So Next Level Soul Podcast. When I go to do his thing. Yeah, see, those are the stretch marks that I was talking about that the camera always gets when you go too close to the camera, too close to the monitor. Anyways, see if I can get rid of it. Yeah, if I do that, tilt it back a little, I should be able to come back in a little. What the fuck happened there? Hold on a minute. I gotta shut some lights out.
Reality was always very interesting to me, and I dove into different areas, but nothing really stuck, or nothing really resonated, although I did have
right. I'm gonna shut up for a little while. I'll get into all that. I get more later. I'll go over the model. I'll set it up so that it's more that I can go through the whole entire thing. But I want to listen to these people for at least 6 to 10 videos. So I'm going to just be playing in the background these research vids, which I love doing. I love remastering the videos. I just can't believe that these videos are up all this time and no one even watches them, you know. I mean, they got 15, some of them 15 to 50 views. And I know I've been watching them over and over and over again because I always do. Let's see, videos. All right, let's listen to these guys.
It was August 22nd, 2008. My near-death experience happened in the emergency room, so we got the exact time as it was at 1:20 p.m. that day. The night before, I hadn't been feeling really well, and I went to bed early, and when I woke up the next morning, I was hot. I was sweating. I was burning up hot, but I still had the comforter, the covers over me. And when I moved to try to take the blankets off, I couldn't move my body. And when I would try to, I was experiencing excruciating pain. It was the type of pain that you get, those all over body aches that you get when you have the flu, except it was like 1,000 times worse, more intense than that. And I was fading in and out. It was very early in the morning. The sun was just starting to come up, so my bedroom was just starting to light up. And each time I would open my eyes, I could see that it was brighter, so I knew that a certain amount of time had gone by. And I had the phone next to me, my cell phone, which is so interesting looking back because my habit at that time was to plug my phone in before bed in the living room. But something that night before, I just brought it into my room, and thank goodness that I did, because I finally got enough energy or strength to get the blankets off of me. I reached for the phone and I called a family member and I said, something's wrong. I feel awful. I'm in pain. I'm burning up. I need to go to the doctor. And she said, okay, let me get dressed. I'll be right over. And I don't remember anything until she came to the house to pick me up. I was just completely, it was just blackout for me. And we first went to the hospital. She saw what I looked like, so we went to the hospital instead of trying to get to the doctor. The first hospital that I went to was the one closest to my house, and they did an MRI, but it came back inconclusive. So they sent me to a different hospital. By the time I got there, I was hurting. I couldn't hold up my head. They had me in a wheelchair to get me into the ER. My head was just hanging, and I was really, I could feel myself dying at that point. I knew my body was quitting. And as I was waiting for the CT scan there, everything around me became very amplified. The lights in the hospital are pretty harsh anyway, those fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
But boy, were they beating down on me at that point. There were kids that I could hear in the waiting room down the hall, and it sounded like they were screaming. And I told someone that was with me, I said, those kids are so loud. And she said, they're really actually being pretty good. And it just, everything was so amplified. Even the clock that was on the wall, the second hand as it was ticking, I could hear it loudly. And they came and got me for the CT scan. At this point, they suspected kidney stones, so they needed to get the IV in before they could do the scan, a special type of scan that they wanted to do. By this point, I was so dehydrated from that fever, and they weren't letting me drink or eat anything. They couldn't get a vein in my arm to put the IV in. And I was lying there on the mattress that they slide you into the CT tunnel with.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lying there, and I remember that's when I started trying to leave my body. That's when it wasn't just blacking out because I was sick or in pain. I could feel myself trying to leave my body. And every time the nurse would poke my arm to try to get a vein, it would pull me back in. And I was a little mad about it. I wanted to leave. I knew what was taking place. And I told the nurse, I said, just get the needle in, because I either wanted to be in or I wanted to be out. And so he got the needle in, went in for my CT, and I don't remember any of that. I remember afterwards being taken to the area in the ER where I was going to wait for the doctor to see what to do next. I hadn't had any pain medication at this time. I was completely worn out. My temperature was 106 degrees, and I was fading really fast. I remember feeling like, I remember having this thought of, I can't take this pain anymore. I can't take any more of this pain. And right at that moment, I closed my eyes, and I was burning up from the fever, and I started getting very cold all at the same time. And I started convulsing. I could feel my body shaking all over my head. There was so much pressure in my head. I could feel the veins popping in my head. And again, I had that thought of, I can't take this anymore. And it was right at that moment that I completely disconnected from the external world. I, in a way, disconnected from my body. I definitely disconnected from the pain at that point, the sensations. And I started looking around inside of my body. I was being shown almost like a movie that you would see in health class, maybe in middle school or high school, of the blood pumping. And I could see that. I could see what the internal organs looked like. I could see cells. And it was just an observation. I didn't really think anything of it. I was just looking as I traveled. And then I had this knowing of, I'm looking at a dying body, that I'm dying. And it wasn't so much a thought as it was just a knowing of, I'm dying. And oh my gosh, this is what it feels like to die. And I wasn't scared. I really had no emotion around that knowing. You would think I would have, but I had no emotion around it. And right at that moment, I popped out of my body. It was very quick. It was a split second. And I was up on the ceiling looking down at the scene below me. And I could see my body lying there on the gurney. But I felt myself up here on the ceiling, and it didn't make sense. So I needed a moment to orient to what was going on. And the more that I realized that the real me, I was up on the ceiling, I looked down at that body and I realized that that's the shell of me. I didn't see any life in that body anymore. And I saw the scene around me, doctors, nurses, the couple of people there that I knew that were watching everything that was happening. And I was just taking it all in. I was just looking around, observing, and all of a sudden I began very gently, very slowly floating up, and I was backwards because I was still looking down. I was very, very, very gently floating backwards and up, and the walls of the hospital started to disappear. The machines that I was hooked up to were disappearing. The bodies were no longer visible. Um, what I was now looking down at were these little balls of white light, which that was everybody's soul. I was seeing everybody's soul, and I saw how everybody was connected by this really thin, iridescent line that looks exactly the way a spider web looks if you catch it just right in the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just taking it all in. And then I had a moment where I observed that all these little balls of white light, all these souls, were really bouncing around. They were really buzzing around. And I thought, why are they all running around like chickens with their heads cut off? Was the exact thought that I had. And there really wasn't judgment attached to that. It was just an observation of why is this happening? I don't understand. From my perspective, I didn't understand that busyness and what looked like frantic energy. Mm-hmm. So I kept floating backwards, and then I was really in what I think was the in-between space for a little while, the void. It was very black. It was very quick. I got the feeling I wouldn't have wanted to have stayed there for a long time. And then I very quickly got sucked into a tunnel. And the tunnel was very black, but not scary at all. And I was moving through it like I was on a ride at the amusement park, having the time of my life. Mm-hmm. It was fast, it was fun, it was thrilling, it was exciting. And that was also very quick, moving through the tunnel. And then I immediately plopped right out of the tunnel, and I was in this beautiful, brilliant, clear, white light. And there was such a contrast from the tunnel. The tunnel was black and fast, and the white light was bright, and it was very calm. And so I needed a second there to orient to this change as well. And as soon as I settled in there, the first thing I immediately felt was the deepest peace that I've ever felt in my life. Just an overwhelming sense of peace. And it felt safe and warm, and I felt very loved. I felt very comfortable. I felt very cared for in that space. And as I was feeling the peace, then I started really feeling the love. That really started getting soaked up. And it was, truly unconditional love. I felt very seen when I was in the light. I felt very seen for all parts of me and very accepted. And then more safety comes in. When you feel seen and you feel accepted and loved, mm-hmm. more safety settles in. And I was just taking it all in. It felt so good. It felt very replenishing. And I started noticing, I knew that my body wasn't there, but I could still feel me in a sense, my soul, the part that's uniquely me. And I started noticing that there were holes that were being filled in. And I started feeling more and more complete as the holes were being filled in. And I had this understanding that it was wounding that was being healed. I was getting a healing. I was getting a huge, deep, profound healing. And I was noticing how it was all taking place. And it was very gentle, very loving, very caring and understanding. And the more the holes were filled in, the more I felt almost as if I was blending with the white light, but I was still also my own unique vibration, my own unique self. And then with that blending, then I started to realize that this white light, this beautiful white light, it's also me. I just had that understanding that I'm not separate from it's me. I'm part of all this vastness, this beauty that I'm taking in. And I was loving every minute of it. And I then at that point started to notice that it wasn't just me that was there. I felt almost like a crowd around me, but a really comfortable crowd. And I realized it was other souls that were there with me. And I didn't have really a lot of time to understand that because right at that moment, I heard it was an inaudible voice that I heard, you have to go back.
Wow.
And that was, I mean, it was like a gut punch. That was the last thing I wanted to hear because I was so much in that moment. I was so present for that moment. And it felt so good that I wasn't thinking about anything else but that. And so to hear you have to go back, I did not want to hear that at all. And I started to protest. I said, no, 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 no. I don't want to go back. Please don't make me go back. And then I heard it again. You need to go back. And I knew that's what was going to happen. I protested a little more though. And right then, I felt myself go backwards into the tunnel quickly, and then quickly right back into my body, in through the top of my head. It was like I got sucked back into my body. And I had a little bit of the pain come back. I experienced the pain just for a brief second, and it was enough for me to know, okay, I'm back in my body. I'm back in this world. Here I am. And then it was total blackout until much later that evening when I went into pre-op to prepare for what would be my first surgery to get well again.
So when you went into your first surgery or any of your surgeries, did you go back by any chance, or that was it?
No, I did not go back. I had a brief out of body experience during the first surgery that night, where I popped out quickly, looked down. I saw the sea of, that bluish green scrub color, and then I popped back in, and then that was it.
That was it. Just a little quick, how you do?
Exactly. Oh, there I am. What are they doing?
What is it? Good, solid. All right, I'm gonna get back in there. So when you were on the other side, did you? Were there any guides? Were there any, relatives? Was there a deity? Anything like that show up?
It was just me and God.
Really?
And it was beautiful to have that. I get so emotional still to have that, direct interaction. It was just, I'm glad it was that way because there were no distractions. But it was just me and God. And when I did feel some of those other souls come up, I do wonder what was that? Were those family members that had passed? I just don't know what the answer is to that.
Because it might have been even more difficult if you would have seen family members or other people. You would have really been fighting and protesting.
Yeah, kind of like they get to be here. I want to stay too.
This is not fair.
No fair.
No fair. No fair. Because that's the way life works.
Yes, it does.
So, and what did it look like? I mean, was it all just white light essentially, or was it like anything else, or it was just white light?
It was just white light. And it was, so, to have that tone of white almost seems like it would need to be foggy, but it wasn't foggy. It was a clear white light that was all around me. And so it, it held that space. It kind of held my soul, I guess you could say. But that was all that I saw there.
Now, when you came back, as every near-death experiencer I've ever spoken to, you come back changed. You definitely come back a different person than when you walked in to wherever you walked into. I wanted to ask you, how did you personally deal with it psychologically with the limited machinery that we have down here to process these things?
I mean, it's been a journey, and it's a journey that still continues. It's coming up on 15 years. It'll be 15 years in August. And I just a few days ago had a big light bulb aha moment. So it is continuing to unfold for me. But right when I came back, I was not equipped. I did not have any tools to deal with that. I had no understanding really of even what a near death experience was. I had heard of it, but I thought it was people who had a brush with death. I honestly didn't know it was an actual thing that was being studied. That just wasn't a part of my learning throughout the course of my life. And so when I came back, I knew for a fact, there was no question. I knew that I died, and I knew that I had gone into a white light that I believed was God, that loved me, but I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. I mentioned it to a couple of people, and those were the two people that were actually standing there when I did die. And so they couldn't hear it. They wanted to move on from that portion of what had happened. And
Let's put a blue filter
I really
on.
think I mean, they must have been completely traumatized to stand there and watch that. And then so I kind of, those were the two people, honestly, that I trusted the most with that information. And when they didn't receive it well, I gave up for a little while on trying to talk to anybody about it. And I remember after my second surgery, I mentioned it to my surgeon at a follow up. Doctors went, bad idea, bad idea. Science guy, he did not want to hear it. And he actually laughed. He chuckled about it. And so that just shut it down. I just shut it down. And I really was pretty sick for a good 3 months after my NDE. And so I had a lot of time to sit with it just on my own because I was so sick that if I wasn't in the hospital, I was expected to be in bed or on the couch. And so I had a lot of time on my own to think about and try to process and integrate. And I was going back a lot during those few months. And then I would come back in, and I remember some people saying, don't you want to watch TV, or do you want me to put in a movie for you? No, I don't want any kind of distractions here. I just wanted to think about that. But I didn't have anybody to talk to. And then I started to doubt myself, thinking, well, could I have made this up? And I was on a lot of pain medications during that time. And I kept thinking, well, maybe once I heal, once I'm off the pain medication, maybe it'll just seem like it was all a dream. But then what happened is, as soon as I was off the medication, everything else felt like a dream, and the NDE felt more real than anything else. That was very confusing. And when I was better, I needed to go back to work and start taking care of myself again, and I couldn't. I would go, I remember my first kind of big outing is my boyfriend and I went to a shoe store, and it was one of these warehouse places. So it has the really high ceilings, lots of people, and I had a full-blown panic attack. I was so sensitive because I was blown wide open during my NDE. I was so tuned in to everything and everyone. To be in a space like that was overwhelming, and I had a full-blown panic attack, and he got me out of there. And trying to make sense of it, we just thought, well, maybe because I've been in the house for a long time. It's the first time I really went out. But I would go to the grocery store and I was so sensitive. I was picking up on other people's thoughts. I was picking up on other people's emotions. Um, and I had never experienced anything at all like that before. And I didn't know what it meant. I didn't have the tools for it. And so I ended up staying home for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Just wanted to say that she's using the true creator's energy to communicate with the other human population that's all around her. They're not getting her messages because none of us read each other anymore. We don't use the true creator's energy to communicate with each other anymore. We use our lips, our vocal cords, our lungs, and we push out words out of our mouths. All lies. So she doesn't realize that she now has this ability. She always had it. We all do. We all have this ability to do this. It's not even an ability. It's a given. But we all have been lied to by the human population as we've grown up, generation after generation. It's been going on. There's another guy that talks about this, and he says 7,000 to 10,000 years, and that's about right. I would say it was pre-ancient civilizations that lost the technology, and it's been really that long. And I'm sure we've come close to getting it back here and there, and that's probably when they do their resets. That's why I say they're getting ready to do a reset now, because they're in total control of the awakenings, all the woke, all the awakenings, all the everybody waking up and everything. They're total. The humans, the 10,000 or so that controlled us all these thousands of years, they are in total control of all that because they're programming us. They program us with school, television, books, movies, and they put out their actors and actresses and singers and songs and